Hello and welcome back to the Matrix Green Pill podcast. I'm Hilmarie Hutchison, and today we have a truly inspiring guest with us. Joining me is Hemant Katyal, a visionary businessman whose journey from being a computer science engineering graduate to a successful entrepreneur in Dubai is nothing short of remarkable. With a strong foundation in technology and finance, Hemant has consistently demonstrated his knack for innovation and strategic thinking. His entrepreneurial spirit has led to the creation and success of multiple ventures. So let's dive right into the questions. Hemant, welcome and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Hilmarie, for having me here. I'm really glad that I'll be able to join you for this session and will be able to give out some of the things which I've learned during my journey.
Fantastic. I'm so looking forward to that. Let's go back first and tell our audience a little bit about you, your journey, and your background.
As you have mentioned that I'm founder of DhanGuard, I'll start from where I exactly started. So I put up from India, basically from Delhi. I am born and brought up in the capital of India, which is Delhi. I'm graduated from computer science. It's a tech. So I am basically a techie by education. And I have done my tech education, which is Bachelor's of Engineering in IT from India as well. Then I did some jobs in tech. Finally, I moved into UAE like 2015 in a banking job, which is related to business banking in the bank. Then in different areas of bank, I've worked, be it retail banking, business banking, and investment banking. Later on, after getting the experience, I really wanted to follow my passion of entrepreneurship, which I have done in India as well. So when I was in second year of my college, I had started doing one or two startups, which really did well, starting from a t-shirt startup, which is like souvenir startup, then a tech startup, which was a communication platform for in-house colleges and the regional colleges to speak on the same platform. So I did quite a few startup in college time, which really did well. So that thing was in my mind always. So after getting an experience in UAE, the first thing I did was following my love for entrepreneurship, and that made me starting DhanGuard.
You are certainly very accomplished already. My goodness. Okay, so let's go back. You mentioned pursuing a degree in computer science engineering. What motivated you? Why was that of interest to you? Or was that since you were a little kid that you loved computers, or what led you down that path?
Well, that was very clear when I passed out in India. It's called the after 10th, we have 12th exam. And after that, we have to go for university and find exactly what we want to do, whether it's IT, electrical, civil, or whatever it is. So I was clear in my mind that I want to do IT because I loved how the technology works. And from school as well, I was very much into technologies, building some or the other things. So yeah, I was clear in my mind that I wanted to do tech, and in tech, especially IT. So yeah, that was clear to me. And that's why I chose in my university computer science engineering.
That makes sense. Now, it seems an odd jump to go from tech and computer science into banking. How did that happen?
You can say that, and it is somewhat true as well, because tech and banking don't go hand in hand. But in some way, a lot of engineers from India, after doing their tech, they do MBA and then they go for actually this management jobs only. But I didn't do MBA. After tech, I directly get into the banking. And the reason was clear. As I mentioned that I started doing startups from second year of my college. So I did like 2 years, all those tech startups, everything. So I was very fond of the business part of I knew how tech works, how I can develop. But what I felt in from second year till fourth year of my college, that I was able to lead the team in a better way. So somewhere I felt that I have that leadership skill plus the business skill. So I was more into going into that only. So I decided not to pursue tech much, again coding myself everything. Although I knew how to code, do everything, I was doing it, but I felt that I could be better in doing business and leadership. So I joined in terms of business banking in UAE, as I got a good offer in the Dubai. And it was something at that time I was very young. So getting an opportunity in Dubai as an international platform was also a great deal for me.
And I can see the business aspect and being exposed to the business world and then that opportunity to learn a lot. Did your tech skills impact or help you at all in this field? Or did you just put that to the side for the time being?
Well, definitely, I would say that all the tech knowledge which I have helped in my banking, and till date it helped me. What what I really believe is that this is my personal quote. I have not taken from anywhere. If you see my Facebook, I posted this, I think 10 years back on my profile, that there is nothing called waste in this world if you know the right way of using it. I had this knowledge and I was able to use it in banking, in my day-to-day jobs. Even in bank, I used to give ideas in terms of tech, how we can improve. It was helping me always. And in my current profile as well, which is companies having DhanGuard banking consultant, we use tech to improve processes, customer satisfaction. So tech has helped me a lot. And when we speak in terms of algorithms, when we speak in terms of building a product, how do we build in the IT side of it, the software side of it? So the logics which we follow, all the loops which we follow, the algorithms, how we build, I try to use the same in the business as well. So yeah, it helps a lot.
I love that quote that there's nothing called waste if you know the right way to use it. So all the experiences we gather, no matter which field they're in, they can impact us in another area of our life somewhere else. I think that's a very good open attitude to have and the willingness to learn new skills. You mentioned your first startup when you were in college. That was called Just Try. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, Just Try was my first startup. So it was basically an inspiration from someone. As I told you that from school and going to university, I was already fond of entrepreneurship. Day, morning, night, I was just watching interviews of some or the other founders, some big founders. I have read all the books of Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. So I used to read that since I was in school. When I went for Just Try. Basically, it was already a startup India which was doing very well, but it was a regional startup somewhere in South India. So I tried to follow the same footstep, which was basically creating a souvenir startup in the college, which is like if you want any type of souvenirs like your t-shirts, your hoodies, your cups, which are college related. Like I was from GL Bajaj, so I would mention GLBNs. So if you're an IITian, you would say IITian. So I would creating that platform where anybody could customize their t-shirts, hoodies, and we would do B2B with colleges where we will offer them this. And in some cases, B2C as well, where the students can buy from us. So that was Just Try.
What were some of the lessons and some of the challenges that you learned during this venture that you've taken away and that's helped you shape your approach to launching and running new ventures later on?
Well, Just Try was the first thing which I did, and then I had Just Connect as well. So in Just Try, everything I was doing it myself. So the key lesson during Just Try which I learned was that I should do something which I really know good. Although I was a kid, so at that time I could not know what I'm good at. But yeah, in that Just Try, I really learned that I should do something which I really know very good, which I really love, not rather than following someone because he has done something good in South or any part of the world, and I should be able to imitate that. That was my learning, that rather than copying or getting obsessed with someone, I have to really find what I am good at and what I really can build.
I think that's a really interesting takeaway because it makes sense. If you're already good at something or if you're naturally good at something, then you're not having that learning. And also then you will notice or be able to identify issues and fix issues a lot easier than if you don't know the business or the item or the product well enough. I think that's a very interesting takeaway. After your startups and after these early experiences, you said in Dubai, you wanted to start your own thing. And again, you there identified a need for co-working spaces for startups, and that's when you started the DhanGuard Business Center. What makes this venture unique and how has it impacted the startup community in Dubai?
Well, co-working space came 2 years back. Before that, the first company which we set up in UAE was DhanGuard Banking Consultants. So as I was already 8 years in banking, I knew the crux of it. I've been in different departments of banking, and as a country, we have a diversified pool of people coming across the world. So banking was a little bit difficult on that side because people who are coming from different parts of the world, they were not able to understand UAE perspective in that sense, but I was able to navigate that. So we started DhanGuard Banking Consultant with a sole vision that we really want to help people in terms of banking and financials. So that was our first startup and it really did very well. We are still operating. We are a major player in that. Then during that period, because we were mostly focusing the self-employed, the business owners in terms of helping them with their business accounts and other services, then we realized after 2 years that we can really work on the business setup part as well, which is forming the companies for them. Because once the company is formed, they are coming to us for the the banking. We can really start from the scratch itself, which is setting up their company in the right way. So when they come to us for the banking, it will be better for them. So we started operations for business setup, which also did very well. Again, we are forming so many companies around the world, and in UAE, we are able to help so many entrepreneurs to set up their companies, and then we help them with banking, and then we help them with immigration, all the visas and all. After that, all of done, we really felt during this period, I was building my own office. We started itself from a co-working space in 2020. We had a very small office, like 100 square feet with 2 people. And then we moved to 4 people, 200 square feet, then 300 square feet. Then we felt like we need a big office. Then we moved on to a new office, which is an independent office. There we really did the architecture, interior in such a great way, which really made everybody feel pleasant about coming to the office. So that was the core idea, that if my people, my team really feels happy to come to office because the interior, the vibes, everything of the office is so good, then everybody out there would definitely need it. And when we used to work in the co-working space back in our times, we were not happy because it was just built as a real estate per se, but not as a startup per se. And it was a business center thing, not a co-working actually. So that was the core idea, that we need to build a place for the startup community, entrepreneurs, business owners of UAE, a great place where they would love to come, visit, work, network, and build their businesses. That led us to start our DhanGuard co-working space at the first place.
I love that you have, from one business, the banking side, to helping with visas and all that, you've created a whole ecosystem for new entrepreneurs that you can solve all the various problems that they might have in a startup so that they can focus on their core business, and you providing all the other things to make their startup a bit more smooth in the beginning. I think that's excellent. Each of these were things that there was a gap. It wasn't you were trying to make something that nobody needed. You were providing a solution to problems that these entrepreneurs and startups would face when they first came or started their businesses in Dubai. I just want to take a little step back. The name DhanGuard, it's spelled DHAN, Guard. It's an interesting name. Can you tell us what is the history behind the name?
Well, all my names, I mean, even other names also we tried. So we tried to follow the Sanskrit, which is an language of India, the ancient language of India. So Dhan is an Sanskrit word which basically means money. And because when we are in UAE, so I wanted to give it a English touch as well so everybody understands it. So Dhan means money, guard means you have to protect it. So as we were Dhan banking consultant from day one, we really wanted to be clear with our agenda that yes, we want to protect the money and we want to grow it as well. So that is from where we get this name DhanGuard.
Your business philosophy emphasizes the importance of making the most of every opportunity and resource. As you said, also that quote that I mentioned earlier. Can you share an example of how this philosophy has guided your decisions at DhanGuard?
Well, the philosophy does not come from my side only. I think that is coming from India, from where we origin. That we don't try to overspend things up. We really spend what is required to. We don't spend it something related to personal things. I have always tried to spend everything in terms of business and in terms of my people. So the philosophy, if I were to say, is clear that don't spend, invest. So even if you are spending, like I mentioned about interior, there are a lot of companies who want to spend on creating their office space because it's somewhere rented and it's nothing to do. But for us, it's like we are sitting there 10 hours, 12 hours, my team is sitting. So I wanted to create that where really people would feel happy about it. So that was not a spending, that was an investment. So the thing simple is that don't spend, invest in the right way. And always we have focused to use the resources, maximizing the usage of resources rather than wasting it. So if you need 1 dirham of spending, then spend only 90 fils. If you have to spend 2 dirhams, then spend 20% less than that. So you will not overspend basically, because sometimes we feel like we need this, we need that, but actually we don't. We need some stuff only. So just try to spend only what you need and even lower than that, and try to invest rather than spending.
Oh, I think that's excellent advice. So don't hold back on giving your team and your clients possibly the tools they need, but also at the same time, be smart about it. Don't just throw money in the water. Be careful with the budget. But when you are looking at spending that money, view it as an investment, especially when it's your office in your team. I'm sure that as most entrepreneurs in Dubai and business owners, you've had your share of challenges that you faced as you built these businesses. What were some of the challenges you faced and how did you overcome them?
There are a lot of challenges, and I would say every day it's a challenge, every day. And sometimes when we see on YouTube, Google read that entrepreneurs say that every day is a challenge, it looks like no, it's not like that. The entrepreneur is trying to make something, trying to create some content of it, but it's true. As an entrepreneur, every day is a challenge. Some day can be happy, some day you are sad. Some mornings you wake up, you see, oh my God, it's so great day. Next day you see some blunder has happened and you're like sad. Every day is a challenge. And in terms of UAE, I won't say in or Dubai that there is a challenge, but yeah, as an entrepreneur, whether you are in UAE, India, or any part of the world, you have to be ready for the challenges. And in Dubai, especially, I won't say there is special challenge. And if I have to specify the challenge, there'll be too many. But I want to specify one challenge which the entrepreneur should keep in mind. So, what my piece of advice and challenges I want to mention here is that if you want to start your entrepreneur journey, your startup journey, just because you are fed up with your job, 9 to 6 job, and you don't want to work that, and you want to be your own boss, you want to have in your business card founder, and you want to be part of that dazzling world of being a founder, then I think that's a complete wrong reason to start your entrepreneur journey. As a founder, you are working at least 2 times more than your team. So if your team is working 9 hours, you're supposed to work at least 14 to 15 hours. And that's what I'm doing till date. Till date, I follow 14 hours, 13 hours work schedule because if I have to lead by an example. So if you are ready for that level of challenge as an entrepreneur, that you are not coming here to live that luxury life, but to really work hard for your dream and passion, which you want to motivate your team with, then you have to be the first person to take that challenge up. So this is one thing. The second thing which everybody in the world would face a challenge would be not the starting of business, but to scale. I see a lot of people starting up the business, but closing down within 1 year of their operation because they are not again overspending, they're not planning, and they're again going up with the dazzling world. So if you really want to be a startup founder, you don't focus on starting. Starting is very easy. Nowadays, the entry barriers of starting up the business is easy, but it is about scaling up. So we as DhanGuard, me as Hemant Katyal, founder of DhanGuard, whenever I meet entrepreneur, I try to explain them about the scaling of business, not just the starting up of it. So I think that is the second challenge. Then after that, there are so many challenges which you will face every day. You cannot just copy paste that, the problems which I faced. You have to be really into your business to solve that.
Excellent insights. Thank you very much. And I think you said what most entrepreneurs that I've spoken to have also said. You have to work almost double as much because the job doesn't end at 6 o'clock. When things need doing, you've got to be there and make sure that they get done. So you do work a lot harder. So if you're trying to be an entrepreneur because it's less pressure, then you've chosen the wrong way to go, for sure. Thank you for that. And thank you so much for sharing your wonderful insights and the advice that you've given us. Now it's time for one of our favorite segments of the show, our very own version of a game show. Are you ready for some quick fire questions?
I'm really excited.
Name one book that has profoundly impacted you.
In terms of a human as a person, I would say Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma. It has really impacted me as a person. It talks about a lot of how we should live our life. So yeah, that is one book I would say has impacted. If you were to ask second, then there are many as well.
What's one tech gadget that you can't live without?
Of course, my mobile more than laptop because as I said, I always have to be on top of the things and that's only possible when I have my mobile with me.
How do you start your day to set yourself up for success?
Well, in 5 years, it has changed every time. When I started the journey, so it was more about being single at that time. So it was like a normal routine, like a young boy starting up. But when I got married, so the first thing was getting up, speaking to wife, discussing about personal life, and then going for breakfast, easy breakfast. So we don't speak business there much. Then now finally it has changed in last 3 years. I have one young kid, which is 3 years old, and one is 6 months old. So the morning is all about seeing them playing and doing all sort of things, which gives me a lot of happiness. So my day starts basically with my kids, and I'm happy about it because they give me peace.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I have lots of mentors in my life. And one thing which I crave about, I am hungry about, is to get a teacher. In our country, we call it guru. So for me, teachers have been always very important, not just academically, but in life as well. So I have got a lot of mentors always in my life. So there are many advisors, but currently what is coming to my mind first is, it is not my mentor, it is not my teacher. It was my alumni who I saw in 12th of my college. So it's like 12 years. So he was taking a session in our school. So he said one thing 12 years back, which is stuck in my mind so badly that I never forget it. If you are happy, you are successful. So no matter how much money you have, no matter how big company you have, if you are not happy, you're not successful. So I think that is one piece of advice which I really keep in my mind always.
I love that. That's excellent. That's similar to one of my favorite quotes. I don't want a perfect life, I want a happy life. So I love that. Excellent. What is one thing that you do each day, no matter how busy you get?
In personal life, I always speak to my wife and my kids and try to always, no matter how busy is the day, I speak to them. That is like my energy, or that is something which keeps me going. Otherwise, the battery would not work. So that is one in personal life. But in business, same thing. I would say I always think about processes and improving the system. So every day I try to focus, how can I improve the current process level? So that is one thing I focus in business.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you for playing along. That was easy enough. Now, before we wrap up, we would like to do our green pill moment. Could you share an inspiring or life-changing experience that you have gone through, your green pill moment?
Well, my life changing experience was when I was in school. I followed the journey of entrepreneurship, and before that, I never used to read books. I was not fond of books. So one of my friends really pushed me to read one book, no matter how, and just read it and complete it. So that was the first book which I read, was Chicken Soup, which is a lot of stories in one book. So after that, I was like addicted to books, and I used to read a lot, listen a lot. So I think that was a life changing experience for me. And then only after I read so many books about Mahatma Gandhi, about Steve Jobs, monk who sold his Ferrari, life changing was when I switched to really reading, because I still feel, even I watch a lot of videos, but I still feel like that reading gives you altogether different level of experience and a peace of mind versus if you're watching something.
Reading is so important. As you said, no matter what, you get so much out of it. And it seems like fewer and fewer people are reading. It's very hard to get the younger generation to understand the importance of reading, because video format is so, it's at your fingertips. It's easy just to watch something. But I think to get something to really resonate and go deep into your mind, and it's the reading part, I think that makes the difference. So I love that was your green pill moment. And thank you so much for sharing that with us. And thank you for being here today. I've really enjoyed this discussion, hearing about your fantastic and inspiring journey. You've certainly done a lot already. And I'm so sure our audience is going to thoroughly enjoy this conversation. Before we say goodbye, could you please tell our listeners where they can find and follow you? And we'll also put this in the show notes.
Well, they can follow me on Instagram. They can follow me on LinkedIn. I put up a lot of informational content out there for the entrepreneurs, especially to learn. So they can follow me Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube as well. We post a lot of videos related to general business and specified business in UAE as well. And we have a podcast as well, which is Business, Banking, and Beyond. So there we speak, laugh, entertain, and discuss a lot of things about business.
Excellent. Just say the name of your podcast again.
Business, Banking, and Beyond.
Hopefully our audience will come over and listen to your podcast as well. I'm sure they'll learn a lot from it. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you again for joining me today. I wish you all the very best, and I will definitely be following your journey as well.
Thank you so much, Hilmari, for having me there. The impact which you're trying to create with your podcast, I hope I was able to add value to your podcast by giving some of the suggestions and opinions which I have faced during my period, during my life. So I think I'll be able to help some people through you.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to the Matrix Green Pill podcast. Your support helps us bring you more amazing stories and insights. Until next time, take care and stay inspired.
If you enjoy our conversations, please like and subscribe. See you next Wednesday.